The midterms are less than 3 weeks away, and we wanted to get a better understanding of which Americans could potentially really sway the vote. So these election influencers are pressured parents, Trump true believers, restoring Roe voters, and the young and the restless. I count myself in the fourth category. No, because I'm not really young, but I am restless. CBS News Executive Director of Elections and Surveys, Anthony Salvanto, is in Studio 57 to join us to explain what all these mean. Good to see you, my brother. So let us start with pressured parents. What can you tell us about this group, and how might they be thinking about voting?
Yeah, because the key here, Vlad and Emery, is we want to understand voters through the way they experience this campaign. And so we've been interviewing so many in our CBS News polls that this is what really emerged. The concerns that they have, the way they're reacting to what's going on, goes first here. These are parents who have reported that the pandemic and the stress over it was really negatively impacting their kids. And let's remember, they're still dealing with a lot of the fallout from that, not just the health risks, but also dealing with the efforts to, masking in schools and all of the requirements that they had to deal with. And then inflation hit, and they had to deal with cost pressures, which they now report feeling. So that impact on inflation is important. Now, they're a core part of likely voters. They're slightly leaning Republicans right now. They're 7 points more Republicans right now, but I'm really watching them because they're conflicted in that sense. They don't necessarily like the way the economy is going, but they also feel like the Republican Party might be for the wealthy. So it's which way they go that's going to be really important.
I'm presuming that the next category is, the next category
that's what I was just talking about.
Right, exactly. The next category is 100% Republicans, because we're talking about Trump true believers.
It is, indeed. Now,
I'm surprised that they would be influencers, because you'd think that, their vote is pretty much locked into the Republican Party.
They must influence, though, the type of candidate that is running for election.
Bingo. And what's happening is, to understand this, we have to understand this group. As distinct from all Republicans, these are folks who consider themselves part of the MAGA movement and also Republicans. And one of the things they're pressing for candidates is they don't want a candidate who says that Joe Biden legitimately won in 2020. We saw their influence throughout the primaries, and their influence now is those candidates keep talking in those terms, right? We've been covering election denialism in so many of these races. It's because of these voters. Those Republican candidates have to get these folks to turn out. And if they deviate from any of those messages, do some of these folks stand back? So no, they're voting for Republicans. That's not a mystery, but clearly they're the center of gravity in the Republican Party and 20% of all voters.
And, we talk about the House and the Senate and so on and so forth, but there's Secretary of States.
Yeah.
There's Attorney Generals, both of which influence how elections are run in states. And there's some
in certain
deniers.
States, for
in certain
sure.
states, not every state. Every state is different, but there's certainly deniers within that group.
Yeah. So let's talk about the abortion rights group and the biggest issue that they're thinking about, of course, Roe v. Wade. But what's interesting, Anthony, is I'm sure our polling suggests that a couple of months ago, this was maybe a bigger, critical data point for voters, and it's sort of chipped away a bit because of the inflationary woes that Americans are feeling.
And that's a big reason we want to focus on this group. These are essentially single-issue voters. These women who prioritize the issue of abortion, want it to be legal. They're voting in support of abortion rights. The question is going to be, how many of them are there? And we know that the Democrats are trying to put emphasis on this issue. We know that Democrats are trying to grow their ranks. And so that's why we want to watch these closely. They say a candidate has to agree with them on that in order to earn their vote. But then the pressure here on the overall electorate is going to be, what's the size of this group versus those who are more focused on the economy, versus those who are concerned about inflation? This election is often about, what is this election about? And this group helps define that contest.
The question on every election is, young people, they might be active, they might be outspoken, maybe they're on Twitter, but are they actually going to show up and vote?
That's it. I call this a turnout mystery for the ages. Right? And what it is, and these are folks who are under 30. They don't have kids. They definitely want to see an improved economy. Very often, they've told us in the polling that they think their generation has it tougher than older generations economically. So they're feeling the pinch. But they're also a group that we saw in polling coming into this year. They were among the first to become disappointed in the Democrats and Joe Biden as economic numbers started to fall. So you're right. In some respects, they could stay home, sit this out if they don't feel like there's something for them. But on the other hand, if they do turn out in large numbers, that could swing a lot towards the Democrats because they do vote majority for the Democrats. So that's what makes them one of the key influencer groups. It's will they show up, and will they show up in large numbers? Kind of like they did in 2018, but so far, not so much.
That's really interesting. Anthony, it's always great when you're here to give us a snapshot of the voters and the elections and all that good stuff. Thank you so much.
Thank you.